Welcome to the Floor Academy podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Hedin, owner of Illustrious Hardwoods in Mesa, Arizona. Joining me this week is designer Jennifer Farrell and the senior marketing manager at Informa, Michelle Swayze. They have come into a brand partnership between Jennifer and her design firm and Informa owning the International Surfaces event, and been able to collaborate on a giant project that went to, I believe you put it up for sale last year, and finished the project. And so that was Calibu Vineyard. But essentially Jennifer designed a home and Michelle was able to use the ability of having just about everybody who's anybody in flooring at her fingertips through being involved with surfaces. And they created a beautiful 7,300 square foot show home. And so Jennifer was able to not only use the brand that she's built over years, having been an award-winning designer, plus being in multiple publications, as well as not only a TV show host, but a designer on dozens of television programs, to use the audience that she's built to start pushing out brands. But then we were able to use surfaces as well to get those companies involved and start reaching audiences that maybe she's never been a part of. But at the same time, Jennifer was giving access to all of those brands through her audience. And so it was this collaborative effort to not only grow everyone's brand, but complete an amazingly beautiful project. And the entire point is, what are you doing with your brand to leverage that audience and then draw in other brands that may be within your arena to get access to their audience and grow yours? I think a lot of us only focus on, I just need to get big enough to be, I like to call it 10 mile famous. If you can be 10 mile famous on like Google Maps, you're knocking it out of the park. But a lot of us have knowledge, ambition, dreams beyond that. And how do you start leveraging that to go bigger? We all make content for our websites. We put content online. We're out there sharing in groups about different things. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, the publications are begging for content. And so as long as you write up an article, they'll probably take it. And then how do you start going beyond that, right? Where do you go and how do you start getting other brands involved? And can you tag this thing? And it like, everyone's going to call it the influencer culture that we have going on, but this isn't just influencer culture. This has been happening for years before the internet blew up and everyone thought they could do it. But there are ways to be able to leverage your brand beyond just your local market and grow it. And we're going to find out about that today. I will have the wonderful ladies introduce themselves in just a second. So Floor Academy is here every week for you to be able to learn how to grow the business side of your business. It's not just about being able to go and install a floor or run a retail shop. We have to understand the nuts and bolts of our business and how we can be profitable, how we can free up our time, and hopefully everybody does become more profitable and they have more time for their family, kids, hobbies, whatever it is that you actually seek. That's the ultimate goal of the show. By tuning in every week, you're going to be able to take away at least one golden nugget to apply to your company and slowly but surely build a better business instead of just owning a job. You can learn more at Floor Academy Pod. Go over there and learn all about the business therapy I offer through our mastermind groups. We also have a new master class that we are offering where we will have the mastermind group members go ahead and teach things that they're implementing into their business to you once a month on Saturdays. And so happy to talk about any of those. Feel free to reach out to me through Facebook or shoot me an email at flooracademypodcast@gmail.com. That is enough out of me. Jennifer, please introduce yourself and let us know who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Thank you, Kyle. I'm Jennifer Farrell. I opened my firm, Jennifer Farrell Designs, 22 years ago. We are a luxury design firm specializing in residential interiors and in whole house projects. Then 20 years ago, I landed my first television show and have been doing both ever since. So I have two parts of my business that have been for a long time somewhat separate. My television world, where I'm hosting and designing on home and lifestyle and real estate shows, and then my design world. And those two now form a triangle where we meet at brand partnerships. So brand partnerships include our show houses, which we're going to talk about today, include my licensing deals, spokesperson relationships. That's really where we meet those two parts of my career. So we're using my public figure image and my design skills and relationships to bring together these brand partnerships. And we really did our crowning jewel with Calibu Vineyard, which we'll talk about with Michelle.
Okay. Michelle, who are you? What do you do?
Turn.
Why do you do it? Yeah, definitely.
I'm Michelle Swayze. I am senior marketing for the International Surface event. Many of you know it as Surfaces. And it has been my pleasure for the last 10 years to serve the floor covering stone and tile industry by helping to produce the wonderful event that we do for everybody. There's multiple facets to what I do. So I work really diligently for the exhibiting brands at the show to make sure that they're highlighted, their products are highlighted, distributed, and we really support them. The other side of that is really supporting the industry itself and making sure that the retailers, contractors, all of our attendees are able to get to the event, find the products that they need, network, build relationships. So also in the business of brand partnerships and bringing people together and networking.
Yes, and that's my favorite part of the show. Is just being able to go and meet everybody and build new relationships and network, and then then you're also left with being able to discover all of the new products that are coming out and staying ahead of the curve and knowing what's coming at you, as opposed to being thrown products randomly as you're out in the field and finding them for the first time. So definitely
it's probably one of the most favorite parts of my position is I get to see the products before they come out in January in our beautiful lookbook. So it's fun every year.
And we'll throw this in there before the end of the episode, folks. Surfaces is coming up January 24th through 26th, and if you use my name, KYLE, that's all you got to remember. You're going to get the free exhibition pass when you go to register. So make sure you do that. Michelle's keeping track. So
I am.
You got to help me support the show and go put my name in. All right. How did this come about? How did you two get linked up? How did Calibu Vineyard become a thing? Was it not even an idea and then just through the two of you talking it came about? Like, where did this come from?
I'm going to back that one up a few years, Kyle, because there's a long lead in to how we got here. So in 2018, maybe 2018, 2019, somewhere around there, I was hosting a show that we were actually at the International Surface event and doing some interviews and talking about what's hot in the industry and taking a look at product and meeting with vendors. And so that was my first time actually at the International Surface event. I actually met Michelle though through Informa in 2018 at Dwell on Design. So Dwell on Design was a really large trade show that focuses more on the luxury and high design universe, and so it's not really about surfaces as much as just design in general. And they would create a thing called the Method Home, which was really a house within the convention center. And every year they brought in a different celebrity designer to create that space. So they'd asked me to be their designer for the Method Home 2018. And then I also had a house called Diablo Ranch that was on their Dwell on Design home tour, which every year they would do like 5 or 6 really beautiful, very design forward homes on a public ticketed tour. So that was how I met Michelle and how I became involved with Informa. Then I went in 2019 to the International Surface event with my show. And then I was very honored to be the Design Visionary 2020 for Surfaces. And so we had a really fun time where I got to create my visions of the design future. And I do talk a lot about what trends are coming in design in surfaces as well as in design in general. And so they let me kind of run wild and create these 4 rooms that were really experiential fantasy visions of what design would look like and what the themes would look like, and sort of this kind of exaggerated version of those. So we could really see some of the trends. You know, there was like this bohemian bling kind of, you know, glam bazaar look, and there was this maximalism room, and this one I called Spaceship UMO, which was this very fun humor as part of minimalist modern design. So, you know, we had these really wonderful interactive displays, and I by then I was already madly in love with the International Surface events, and madly in love. I've always been a tile junkie. I've always been a flooring maven. These are things that surfaces. What's exciting to me about surfaces is that they are so much more permanent than, you know, movable furniture. And so when you're creating any space, your surfaces are really there to stay. And there's something that's wonderful about that indelible impression you leave behind as a designer. So once we then got into 2020, I had just finished another show house, and we'd done the big tour, and was, you know, had some brand partners on that and had a really wonderful experience. And we photographed, we did our big opening press party on March 5th, 2020. And then on March 6th, we photographed, and the next week the world shut down. And so suddenly we all found ourselves in our pajamas doing Zoom calls. And there was another property that I'd had my eye on for years and had tried to buy many times, because my formula for these show houses is that I buy a property that's in distress and in a unique area, that I want to bring attention to the area, but I also want to transform a dying horse over here into something grand as a show stallion again. And there'd been one I've been trying to get my hands on for years, and the bank wouldn't sell it to me. They were running some kind of tax scam, and they just kept writing it off. And then all of a sudden, here we are in the middle of a pandemic, and it went back on the market. And I started trying to call and buy it again, and the bank kept saying, no way, we're not going to give it to you. And this went on for another 6 months. And then all of a sudden, they finally just said, lady, leave us alone. You can have the house. So I was like, oh, we got to go. So we quickly said farewell to Wolf Peak, our previous show house, and on to Calibu Vineyard. So the idea that I had been cooking in my head was that I would transform this dilapidated former English Tudor style 7,300 square foot home on 3.5 acres, transform that into a modern Montauk inspired retreat with a working vineyard. So that all sounds fine and dandy, but doing that as a show house on such a grand scale, there was no way to do that by yourself. You really have to have partnership. And so in my pajamas, in my production trailer, my first call wasn't even to my mom, it was to Michelle Swayze. Okay. And I said, it is time. You have always said, when you're ready for the next big one, call me. And I did. And so I remember sitting in that trailer in my pajamas as we hashed out the structure of what we wanted to do with Calibu Vineyard. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle. She can pick it up where that conversation then started going.
Okay.
Yeah, so I very quickly said, yes, let me take that to leadership, please. And so the Surfaces show home was born with Jennifer, which is Calibu Vineyard. And we just worked really hard and put our brain power behind how we could do what we do best, which is bring additional value to our manufacturers and create this beautiful show home project with Jennifer, which we've seen 2 prior show home projects plus the method home. So we knew it was going to be just spectacular. So it was really just figuring out the best plan for the manufacturers to get highlighted, the process of getting the brands on board, how we were going to work through the process, what the construction cycle is going to look like, how do we market that? And so we were able to put together packages and benefits over a period of time that we were inevitably offering out to some of the curated brands that got into the show home.
Well, and there's got to be more to it than, what we're talking about. I think a lot of times, from a contractor perspective, we can go to some of our brands and say, well, I'll tag you in the post, like, help me build my shower, or help me do this thing, or help me get this like accessory that's unique, and I'll tag you in the post. Well, what's your reach, right? Like how many people is that actually going to expose the product to? And then even from a retailer side, I know retailers will ask their, vendors for, well, I gotta redo my showroom, like throw me some flooring. But again, like how much exposure does that actually get you? And so throughout this conversation and building this, how did you look to leverage your brand and really bring that to the vendors and manufacturers and the other brands involved to really say, like, look, this is going to be more than worth your while. It's not just about, oh, hey, I'm Jennifer Farrell, right? Like, yes, your name means something and that's amazing. But just because your name's attached doesn't make it happen, right? There has to be numbers and facts behind it to develop it. And so what kind of steps did each of you have to take to really show the value behind making this happen?
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Well, I was going to say, I would love if my name could just get attached to things and then magically they happen. That is not true. And it doesn't even matter how big your name is, because there do have to be numbers, but also a package of marketing deliverables. Yeah. And I will say, as I'm going to turn this over to Michelle to explain it, she is a marketing genius. And I mean a genius in the finest sense of the word. So I hope everyone watching is recording this and absolutely taking the valuable concepts that she's created to heart, because the structure of the deliverables is what the brands, that was the ceiling, that's the glue that kind of holds my name onto it. It's that package of deliverables. So Michelle, just talk us through what that package looks like.
So there was definitely an art form to putting together the marketing packages that we delivered. We doing full cycle marketing for the show, from video to media to press to email and all the different digital facets and wonderful things that we do. When we sat and really looked at where we are as the International Surface Event, where we are as Informa, because Informa is the largest, construction show owners in the B2B space, we were able to formulate a very special marketing package. One thing I love to pop into this really quick is that I learned these brands get a lot of requests, kind of like you said, Kyle, like, oh, yeah. Hey, give me some tile and we'll tag you, or give us some tile. Even the big television shows, they do look for the brands to provide. And some of the questions we got is, we get a lot of these requests. How is this different from those requests? And because we had put the marketing package together in such a way where the brands are the focus. So it was a brand centric marketing program that they were front and center in the home, the design, all the materials that we put together. It was built for them, not asking them to be a piece of something that was over here. So it wasn't like, be a part of our show home because, although Jennifer is a big piece of the pie, Jennifer's doing it. It's come on board and let us wrap our arms around your brand, show us your newest products. It was a really cool process of going through it. But the package benefits, we made sure they were getting saturated into our email database. They were getting pushed out in press and media. We had Lux Magazine. So there was even some consumer approach to this as well as our B2B database. Tons of digital, tons of video. And then we built packages in such a way that they were accessible for everybody. So it wasn't a one size fits all. Like not all of, there's beautiful products in very small companies. And when you look at what we did at Calibu Vineyard, there were brand new products hitting the market from a small company all the way up to the Mohawks of the world. Mm-hmm. And so we made sure that we, if they were putting one product in and in a small space, that there was an opportunity for them in it, and it was within their reach. And then they could tier up. So we really did make sure that the entire program had the brands front and center, as opposed to what you were mentioning before, Kyle, which is I'll give you a post. So thinking through the marketing package that way and making sure that there were value points all the way around the entire cycle is what really, I think, made it very special for all the participating brands.
Okay.
And also, Kyle, to understand what that cycle really looks like, we're talking about a 2-year cycle of marketing deliverables. That was, we've been in over a dozen magazines at this point with Calibu Vineyard. We did a Tice TV mini series that featured the entire construction process and the brands. We did video content, which was essentially commercials with me for our brands. So they got that content that they can use in perpetuity. They got their entire photo package assets. So high quality luxury photographs of their products in a mansion, essentially. So they had, this was not a virtual install. This was a real install. We had a very significant and ongoing release of our imagery through our virtual partner. So that doing these emails and these newsletters, which went out, I think there were like 1.3 million emails sent out. Very targeted to the industry. And in doing those, we were able to do a virtual reveal of each space way before it was actually physically constructed. And these very, very photorealistic images, so realistic from Visualizer Plus that to this day, if I look at a photo of the bathroom in the primary suite and I look at the rendering from 2 years earlier, I don't know which one's which.
Wow.
So we were able to do that, a huge ongoing social campaign. And then all of that then culminated in a virtual shoppable tour where you could hop on your smartphone anywhere in the world and tour all 19 rooms and shop as you go. You see a flooring board from Mohawk that you like, you click on it and you can buy it. So then we had our classic tour of a show home experience. So it was a ticketed public tour. And then we also had our big press party and VIP reveal. We've had partner activations and events at the house. And that we're even though we're officially wrapped on that 2-year cycle, and we wrapped that up this summer because it was actually longer than 2 years, but I just filmed Open House there. And so that's going to still be airing like next month. Okay. So when we say marketing deliverables, this is not just we're going to tag you in a post.
100%.
Well, and it sounds like you're making it about them. I think a lot of times we get confused and it's like, well, hey, I need this and I can make it about my company and how I use this product. And instead you're saying, let me make it all about showcasing you off and I'll just use myself to grow the awareness about it. And that's a much better plan when we make it about others. So folks, if you want to try and do some of this, this is you can't just ask and hope you get the offer. Like, what are you doing for them to make it worth their while, and what exposure are they going to get beyond what they can go generate themselves, let alone, again, as Michelle mentioned, they're getting thousands of requests. The Mohawks, the Shaws, the Schluters of the world are getting thousands of requests every year, and they have their own giant marketing machines. So what value are you going to bring to them that exists outside of what they can just produce on their own? You got to get creative. And that's where, okay, let's build a house and then run it all the way through the process from design to, being completely done and able to show it off and have tours in it comes in. And how did we get there and what did it look like? And so I guess that's really the next thing is how did we set expectations of, even figuring out who we're going to need involved, where we're going to need different materials. I I'm going to assume that we probably went outside of just everything that even Michelle was able to bring to the table. And there was probably other brands outside of that maybe you had relationships with, but you were pulling from a lot of places. And so how do we even begin to start organizing it and figuring it out?
Well, and you're right that we were going outside of the services world because this is a whole home. And so we had 22 luxury brands involved in Calibu Vineyard. Where did they come from? Well, some came from the International Surface event and those relationships. Some came from Luxe Magazine, which was our media partner, and those relationships. And then some came from Jennifer Farrell Designs and those relationships. So, I have brand partnerships already that were way before this show house, go back, several with companies like Lambs Plus. Michelle obviously has brought in quite a multitude of our surfaces brands. And then my partners at Luxe Magazine, then they were able to bring in partners like Ferguson, who brought in House of Roll and Monogram and Signature Hardware. They were able to bring in Forever Lawn, which now I'm a brand advocate for Forever Lawn. So the biggest thing, because not everyone's going to be able to go buy a 7,300 square foot house, bring in 20 luxury brands, and have the world's largest marketing company backing them for 2 years. But the takeaway is that there are a few things that anyone can do to leverage up, which would be build your relationships. Relationships drive our industry. No more relationship. The one that gets driven the most is the tile and flooring industries are absolutely built on relationships. So know your relationships. Figure out how to support those relationships. You said it already, Kyle. Don't ask for everything. Offer. What can I do to make your brand better as we build this thing together? And we'll get into this a little bit later, but create experience to give an impression on your brand. But that's a discussion. That's a whole topic we'll talk about in a bit.
Okay. Michelle, you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, I think that you just need to think out of the box. I mean, this is out of the box, right? And so first, you have the resources around you. I know sometimes you don't think out of the box to go, wow, I could put this piece and this piece together and make some magic with it. So, the connection with Jennifer, that's that relationship that we built with her over years. It came together by thinking out of the box about we're a trade show. She does show homes. We have marketing benefits. There's all these other partners around us. Let's pull them together and make magic happen. That's an out of the box process. If you look just around you and your business, like a local contractor, what resources do you have around you? Do you have a relationship? Or can you build a relationship with a designer? What projects are you working on? What resources do you have at your fingertips or unique skills do you have? And how can you mush those into something that could be magical and benefit a brand to give you product or to assist you in some way? So it's a formula, I think, that a lot of people, they just get in their day to day and they don't think about it. But if they just stop and really have like a brainstorming session, even just write it down and say, what do I have around me? Who do I know? And try to just connect those dots. That's where the magic happens.
I would agree. I think it's like you said, it's stopping and taking the time to write it down. I know for a fact that a lot of contractors that I know personally don't give themselves enough credit. They are amazing artisans and craftsmen and women, but they're like, I'm just a tile person or I'm just a flooring installer. But the things that they create are absolutely amazing, and they have so much creativity, and they just haven't necessarily learned to harness it in another way. And some of that is just sitting down. And this show is evidence of that. Like, I had a background in reality television, and then I found myself becoming a flooring installer. And then I found myself kind of coming back and using an old skill set because I found somewhere that the industry was lacking. I went looking for a podcast to teach me about the business side of flooring, and it didn't exist. And then I said, well, okay, I know how the technology works. Like I might as well do it. And here we are 4 years later. And so I know there's plenty of tool inventors. Most of the tools on the market come from the tradespeople themselves as they say, well, I can't, how do you do this? Like it doesn't happen. And I think that's what's happening here is I need to find a way to promote this brand I'm building, but these products need to be showcased. And how do we put it together? And you brought up, can you find a local designer to work with? Sure, that's probably not that difficult, but there's also probably a local design magazine. I know I'm fortunate to live in Phoenix, which is a giant, top 10 city. And I know that there is like a local design magazine that's all about designers and projects in Phoenix, but in your area or state, there's probably something. So can you find a way to team up with a designer and go approach that magazine and say, hey, we have this thing. Here's a bunch of pictures. They're all super high quality. Here's the write-up on it. And again, like a lot of these magazines are like begging for content. You just don't know it. And you go and approach them and you start getting maybe you get 4 pieces a year. So every quarter you're putting a piece in there, but that grows your exposure. What's that doing for your brand? And what's it doing for the designer's brand? And meanwhile, you're helping the magazine fill their pages with content that they didn't have to work for. Especially if they don't have to chase you down and remind you that the deadline's coming up and they just get all of it ahead of time, they're going to absolutely love you. And then how do you use that, right? How do you then leverage that? Well, now you can go to the places that do the, there's always like the tours, like Best of the Best and whatever. I don't even know because I'm not involved, right? But there's always like the star-studded tour through like all these recently done homes. Well, now you're super duper cool because you were in the magazine. So you go approach those people and be like, hey, I can get you access to this house. And so now you start leveraging that brand and getting, let them go through that house. But then you get to say like, hey, I was on this super duper tour. And so look at me, I'm really famous. And you're just doing what you were already doing, but you added another component to it to allow other people to have success off of your brand. But that's only going to continue to draw in more success for you. How many people go on those tours and then say, oh, I need that person to do the work for me because look at this, it's absolutely amazing. So that gets your phone to ring and then you go get more of these high-end super duper design projects and it rolls from there. Is that...
Here's an example.
Okay.
Here's an example of something. So we'll step back to Jennifer's magical time being the design visionary at Surfaces, met Tice, and she created these amazing 4 pods, trend forward pods that had just fascinating things. And in one of the pods, she had ombre grout installation on tile. And all of the installers were going by and like touching it and looking at it and going, how did this happen? What is this? If you have a project and you're working with some, a designer that thinks out of the box, Jennifer thinks very out of the box and trend forward, you could do that in a project. That is something that a magazine will pick up. So you do something unique, you convince the homeowner that this is the thing that they need, you do it, you get imagery, you put it out there, and then your name's all over it. And your local magazines where you live, if you're in the, if you're looking for people in your radius, even on social media, boost it. Mm-hmm. Do that and do a targeted boost on social media with this amazing, interesting, piece of art now, because installation is art. And then you add in a little designer effect. It was eye capturing and unique and different. And I mean, it was really, really cool to see in person, but also the photography, I still use it. So something as simple as that is how you could work with a local designer to say, what crazy ideas, I'm a tile contractor, what crazy ideas do you have for tile that you think you want to do? Mm-hmm. And then do it. Even if you have to do like a wall in your garage, just a photo shoot, a special thing, and it's not in somebody's home per se, it's it's an interesting technique that you're delivering out there. And now you're leveraging that designer, 'cause she's going to want to be tagged, or he, your company, and maybe even you could get a tile brand to give you the tile to be a part of that. And now you've got the tile brand and your company and the designer all tagged, and you boost it. $20. I'm not kidding. $20 on a Facebook boost will get you massive exposure if you do your target right and you have the right content piece. It'll just organically, that $20 will organically grow into like 50,000, 65,000 people. It's pretty cool to watch it, and it's very simple to do.
I believe it. I'm going to interrupt us real quick, and then we'll get right back into it. So, quick word from John's Manville. Zero entry, curbless, ADA compliant. All these words describe a shower pan that is both luxurious and accessible to every person. GoBoard Point Drain was designed with this in mind. The low-profile features and adjustable riser perfectly enable a zero-entry installation. Whether you install mud pans or use GoBoard wedges, the integrated membrane keeps water securely flowing in the right direction, down the drain. Visit www.jm.com/GoBoard to discover the possibilities. You bring up a great point where we're talking about having like crazy design or like a unique feature, but I don't even think it needs to be that complicated. That's obviously a great way to go, and I like dealing with, I would love to get into higher end stuff and luxurious things, and I don't mind having that clientele. But even for the folks that, you know, generally what I'm doing is a basic installation, it's all straight lay, it's just a standard product, nothing fancy. Go to your local newspaper and ask them if they would take like a, you know, homeowner improvement article and write about, you know, how do we even make sure we're hiring a good contractor? How do we make sure we're picking the right products? How do we ensure that our shower is waterproofed correctly? Like, you can start taking some really basic questions that you get asked from homeowners all the time and presenting it to the local paper, and then all of a sudden you're a local expert. There's a gentleman here in Phoenix named Rosie, and he's been doing Rosie on the House for a radio forever, for a radio station just forever. And so it's like an hour-long show once a week, and people get to call in and ask him all kinds of questions. He has different businesses come in as guests. He's got a separate website where you can be Rosie certified, and he charges businesses to be on it, but it's like a trusted source locally for people to look things up. And so he was able to take his expertise, offer it to somebody else to create content for them, and then leverage that audience that he built for them to grow his own brand, to sell to contractors, to bring in that audience, to find trusted contractors to use. So there's all kinds of creative ways that you can go about this, and it doesn't necessarily have to be high-end projects. Like, don't think that just because we're talking with about a 7,300 square foot house, that's the only way this is going to happen. There's 100 different ways to skin a cat.
It's also, you don't have to get your own radio show and commit to that kind of really what becomes another job. But there are small target ways to leverage your brand that really just involve outreach. And again, it's relationships. There are so many different digital print now, like so many different magazines that are all online, and they really are desperate for content because it's instantaneous. They're usually weekly instead of monthly. So they need content. So go online, do a little bit of Google, and do your outreach there. Also, you know, you were talking about Facebook groups earlier. I cannot tell you how unsolicited the design universe is by contractors. Do you know how hard it is for designers to find a good flooring installer?
I do.
It's impossible. And it's really because many of the installers out there do not reach out to designers. They think that designers are maybe the enemy in some ways, but because we have a particular way we want to do things and we're just going to make things harder. That is not my brand philosophy. That's not what we do at my company. We try to solve problems instead of create them. But the outreach also needs to happen. And I'm doing an entire tour about this next year, which I'll get to later. But the outreach needs to happen from the contractor and installer side to not only reach out to designers, but to also help educate them that there is a difference between the dream and the installation reality. And if you work together as friends, you can start solving some of those problems where maybe designers don't know things. But what I'm saying is that I would love to have tile contractors, flooring installers, have them reach out to design groups that are on Facebook and say, hey, I'm this person. This is what I do. Here's a couple of photos of my work. I want to join your organization. I want to come and hang out with you. I want to go to one of your events. I want to be a part of what you're doing. And that one conversation and that joining that group and going to the luncheon with, a design group that, we have a lot of them in our area and they do events every month. Going to those events, you're going to get enough business. You will work all year long.
Well, and you're going to get fun projects. You're exactly right. It's hard to not only find a good contractor that understands how to do things properly, but I've heard it the other way where you find the contractors that work with designers and the designers are so stuck in their way of, no, it has to look exactly like this. Well, that's not feasible according to what the manufacturers say. And so we have to be able to blend the visions together to make it happen. And people get burnt out on one opportunity as opposed to, like you said, go join the design culture and go visit their luncheon or their events and their educational things and then meet 20 of them. One of them's got to be a good fit, if not more than that. And yeah, then you're going to find some amazing opportunities through it. So I think that's great advice that it goes both ways. Like designers aren't necessarily going to just reach out to you. They don't want to necessarily work any harder than you want to work. And so are they going to go find the tile contractor themselves? Or are they just going to tell the homeowner, find a tile person, and then whoever it happens to be and shows up, well, I guess this is the person I'm working with on this one, and that's fine. What else do we have here? So what made Calibu project? We kind of talked about what made Calibu Vineyard project different from all the other product request opportunities that brands receive. But really you were able to showcase a lot of the brands in a lot of different ways throughout it. And then you were able to bring in audiences that had followed along or even just follow names or wanted to, hey, this is a good way to spend a weekend. And so what did that look like in developing out the final reveal? Because I think that's really the biggest part of it is you were able to build hype for it for essentially 2 years before like this final reveal of like, here it actually is. And so what did it look like to hold the event and finally get people in there? And then what did that do for all of the brands overall?
So besides the marketing element of the way that we structure Calibu Vineyard, there's also the difference in this as a show home. Most show homes are done by 20 designers and each one picks a room and they're kind of competing to see who can create the boldest, biggest room that's the most memorable, that will get the most eyeballs to remember them as a designer. And then people come through, they buy their ticket, they take the tour, they go through the 20 rooms in an hour, and then they're like, oh yeah, I really love the one that had the wallpaper on the ceiling. And that's the classic show house experience. What we are doing here is it's one designer, one vision, all coming out of my brain, and it's one theme. So that does something a little bit different in that we're creating a cohesive universe. It's one project that then becomes a livable home. In doing that, the brands are integrated in a way that feels organic. It doesn't feel like we are stuffing things into a room to showcase all these different brands. It's not a showroom, it's a house. And so doing that organic implementation of those brands, I was very blessed in that all of our brands essentially said, our doors are open. You tell us what you want from all of our inventory and all of our materials, and it's yours. And that really gave me the opportunity as a designer to showcase them in their best light, because I was picking the products that felt integrated into the design that I had created. So it makes them look good, it makes the house look good, it makes me look good, and it makes the International Surface event look good as my partner. And then to do that opening event, I want Michelle to talk about it, because it really was a spectacular way to premiere the physical home.
You're talking the VIP reveal party, right? So for me, just personally, having run the 18-month, 24-month content program the whole time, all the virtual imagery, I was saturated in it. I was way inside Jennifer's head. I think I could guess what she was going to do next at any point, which was awesome. But it was surreal to step inside the home because, again, the imagery was so real. I'm in Dallas. She's in LA. So I hadn't been on property. I had only been living and breathing in the virtual world of this home. And when I stepped in, I almost felt like I was in I wasn't in the real home. I was just like in the virtual simulation of the home. So it took me, it was just neat. And then I think it was really an interesting thing to be able to turn the in-person home into a virtual shopping experience. So people could go into the virtual full experience. It was photorealistic. You could dig in there. There were videos from Jennifer talking about welcoming them to the home. So we did have the full like photorealistic virtual experience. But again, like stepping into the home and scanning, a product right there and be able to just click and go directly and purchase that. Like, I didn't know we were doing something so game changing until we got all of the brands in the house and everybody said, what is this? Like, how did you do this? This is incredible. So I think bringing all the brands together, getting to see the home was incredible. There's a couple of things stepping back. One of the things that I learned the most going through this process was the process of choosing the right partners and how Jennifer, working with Jennifer, and what did that process look like from, a brand, trying to bring a brand in, where's the balance between what Jennifer wants from a design aesthetic in the home and what the brand, because this is brand focused, right? What their newest products are and what they want to get in the home. So it was very interesting to have that first like welcome call to do discovery from the brand, what they want, what they need. And that's something I would say to anybody that's going out. It's not about you, it's about them, right? So I learned so much more about the brands that we talk to, about what their goals are, what their needs are. I mean, some of them really wanted the photography. I mean, they wanted it for their websites. They wanted it, for their marketing materials. Others really wanted the brand endorsement piece from Jennifer. Others really wanted the opportunity to have exclusive events in the home. And so talking to them and discovering all that was fascinating. So I would suggest if you're going to try to do anything with another brand, just to make sure that the focus is them, if you're asking them for something, and listen, because Jennifer got more from some brands who didn't want their competitors in the photographs because that's all they wanted. So, and it was super fun to have that initial welcome call, discovery call, and then park that, go sideways, have the meeting with Jennifer, go, now what? And do that design discovery on the side. Jennifer's brilliant at that. And she had, I don't know how many design changes, she had her initial vision and then we'd have a call and then she'd have to pivot and have a new vision. And then we'd have another call and she'd have to pivot. So each one of those brand meetings turned into a design pivot for Jennifer, correct?
Of course.
Yes, very much so.
And you have you have to be able to pivot in design in general. And that's something that I think kind of takes time to learn in the business is that you can't, you said something earlier, Kyle, that is always nails on a chalkboard when I hear designers say it's my way or the highway. It has to be this way. Because as a designer, that's the opposite of my philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very adaptable. And I tell my team, if the client wants a purple elephant in the middle of the room, we are going to build the best possible room around that purple elephant. And we're not going to tell them that you can't have the purple elephant, because if it's important to them, then it is important to the design. And so being able to pivot is quintessential for anybody who's going to be in control of any aesthetic in this business.
You both bring up some good points. So Michelle, you were talking about how you were able to go and really find out what people need. And so even from a non-big grand design or building a giant brand partnership with people, even on the basic level of your contracting or retailer store flooring business, if you're not asking the client what they need and finding that root problem that they want solved, you've missed the boat and your opportunity to sell them, because then you're just like everybody else and you're only in it for the dollar. And everyone knows why we're there. That's not a question, right? You provide a service for some amount of money. So what is it that you're actually going to go do for them and solve, which is a great thing to figure out, right? And you were like, oh, well, you want pictures and you don't want to have anybody around. And then Jennifer, you're talking about, you talking about solving the problem as well, just in a different way. It's literally if they want a giant purple elephant, then they get a giant purple elephant and we'll just figure out how to make it work from there, even though it makes no sense to me. Look, it looks great for my house. I don't have to live there. You want a giant purple elephant, have it. And so it's just, how do we get creative and make it work within the constraints of, again, what the industries say we need to do? It's probably possible. You may not like it, but you can find a solution. So I want to ask, was there anybody that was trying to come on board that you had to turn away? Like it wasn't a good fit for you, or it wasn't, the right products weren't presented? How far into evaluating stuff did you get? And sometimes you have to just say, I think a lot of times we get sucked into, well, I just have to say yes to everyone so I get as many opportunities as possible. And that's a horrible way to do it. And then you're a shill and a sellout and all these other things. But it's also about the partnership may not just be correct right now. So we don't need names, but were there opportunities presented and you would just, nope, like this isn't going to work for this thing, but we'll keep you in mind in the future? Or were there any that you just saw like it wasn't going to be a good fit for your brand and were aware of that and turned it down?
We did have to turn down some brands, and mostly because we wanted to be on a non-compete and we don't want to have two competitors with their products next to each other. Mm-hmm. And again, remember, because this is one cohesive design, it's like you can't be suddenly changing floors every 5 feet because it's not going to make sense. And so the brands that we had to say no to, it was mostly just because we decided which partner in that category we were going with, and then would have to say no to others, not for lack of their products being great, but because it was just, this one's the one we fit with, and then we can't really fit another brand in that category.
Okay. So just it's about being aware and making the right decisions, and you don't have to get everybody on board. You need the right one on board that's going to make you successful.
Absolutely.
Okay. Right. From your end, Michelle, is that kind of the same experience? I mean, you had access to essentially every major and small brand internationally for the most part, because they're all kind of involved with you. And so it was, even for you, it was probably the same thing, right? It was just making sure that you were able to find the right brands to bring on that had great opportunities for both of you to succeed, as opposed to pull this in here and pull this in here, and we'll take a little bit of that. And now you have to appease 5 people instead of 1. And sometimes that's the better option.
Correct. So product exclusivity by product category was a big deal. So definitely, each of the brands had their own product category exclusivity, most of them. That was a package level that
Okay.
they could get to. Most of them did that because it was important to them. There were, remember, we were going through the pandemic, so it wasn't necessary. There was exclusivity issues, but there were some brands that were having container issues and problems, and production issues and things like that, and just the timing of when the home was and their supply chain was off. So, there we were, turned down because of that sometimes, So, but I will say again, like, Jennifer's incredible at, if there was somebody that was interested in wanting to be in the project, she worked really hard to make sure that there was a beautiful or multiple beautiful places to put their products. And then she went out of her way to make sure that they were being taken care of, from a marketing perspective, even thinking out of the box for them. So that was one of the things that I noticed. I'll tell you, Jennifer, was she would look at their product and go, what else we could do with your product? We could do this. For example, we had Creative Magnetic Flooring, who was launching their new magnetic wallpaper. So it was fresh off the market. They were using this project to launch. So interchangeable, right? Wallpaper, like peel it off season to season if you want to. Like once the backer's in there, it's in there. And, Jennifer really brainstormed with them about custom wallpaper options, seasonal wallpaper options. So what they got in the home wasn't all they got. They really got to like peel the layers of design out of Jennifer's brain, and she loved on them. I mean, I consider that loving on the brands that participated, and that's what she did. She gave them inspiration. She shared her knowledge with them, beyond just going, thank you for the product, and I will beautifully place it in here. Like, they were able to resource her and continue to ask her questions. And she shared her visions that she saw even when it didn't have to deal with that specific product. So I think that's some magic. Again, going back, if you're a contractor and you're trying to figure out how to do this, or an installer, and you're wanting, when you sit down and you brainstorm and you think about, what do I have to offer back? Like, Jennifer wasn't just taking the product and putting it in the home. She has an offering of being able to like see future trends or see new options for products. And so she was giving that, even though she didn't have to. It was outside of what was promised to them. So I think that was another really cool aspect that we were able to give to the brands that participated.
So we're not taking
for that. And I actually, sorry, Kyle, I do want to actually build on that. Thank you, Michelle, for what you just said. That was very sweet. But another layer that happened is I just did a presentation in Chicago. I was speaking at Design Chicago. I had a couple of panels I was doing and some talks. And I was speaking, showing images and sharing photos and plugging my different brands, and including Creative Magnetic Flooring. And when I was showcasing their magnetic wallpaper in that presentation, then hands were going up left and right. Wait, what's the website? We need to know where this is. We need this product. It's innovative. It's different. It's great for commercial applications. And I've had people emailing me. I sent out a blast of emails about Creative Magnetic Flooring and letting you know where to get it. And so the reason I'm bringing that up is because it goes back to what I was saying about relationships. If you want to earn the loyalty of a brand and you want to leverage your brand up along with theirs, you have to be loyal to that relationship. And that means giving. That doesn't mean taking. It means looking for ways to make their brand better.
So, yeah, no, it's great advice. It's all about what can I do for others, and serving other people as opposed to just trying to take. We can talk about karma or however you want to phrase it, but putting other people first goes a very long way in your life. And I like that nobody put baby in the corner, right? Like it wasn't like, oh, hey, I can get a wastebasket from this company and like I'm going to stick it in the corner and it'll be in one picture throughout here. Like it sounds like you were very focused on, I want to create a natural looking organic environment. I want it to flow very well, right? You had all this design behind it. And so if there's going to be a wastebasket in the corner, like it's going to serve purpose, it's going to have function, and it's going to stand out. And in that picture that it's in, it can be the star of the show because that's why it's there. It's not just there to fill out a picture. It wasn't an afterthought. It was purposely done. So I think that's awesome that all the brands got to feel like they were the star of the show as opposed to, well, I just need this thing to complete the look and I don't, whatever, it's just there. That's not the case, right? Everyone needs to feel as if they're the reason for the season. And it sounds like that's what's happening. All right. So, what do we have going on, right? We have Surfaces coming up at the end of January, and there's some new things going on. So what can you give me that I'm allowed to know right now?
We have so many things going on. We've got our wonderful International Surface event is going to be January 24th through 26th, 2024. And there, I've got some fun things we're doing. First of all, we will be revealing our new show house concept. So you're going to see a fabulous show feature where we will unveil the new show house. So I can't tell you anything about it. I have to kill you because it's a secret. But I can tell you that we will be building on the marketing platform that Michelle created for Calibu Vineyard and building on the shoulders of that and even going with more. So you will get to see that unveil. We'll have some great activations. I'm hosting a tour where we'll be looking at the latest trends on the Tice showroom floor. And, we might just stop by my booth because also at that booth, we will be with Louisville Tile, who are my tile partners. And I'm launching my new Livable Luxury collection. So you'll see the Spring 2024 collection there right in the Tile Expo as you walk in. We have an incredible display we're planning. You'll get to see all of my new tiles for the Spring 2024 collection. And you'll also get to see my floor tile called Beryl Parquet. Beryl Parquet is right now a finalist for top flooring products. Oh. So I'm very excited to be able to share my new tiles and our new show house experience. I'll also be speaking at Tice in the Pulse seminars, where this is what I was mentioning earlier. I'm going to be talking about design. So it is going to be a joint effort where I'll be talking about some trends in flooring, in surfaces, in stone. All of those trends have to be installed with the right techniques. So we're going to be really kind of going to that hybrid conversation about not just the idea of a design, but the implementation of it and how the whole industry has to know both sides of it. And that's going to launch another incredible tour with the NTCA. I will be at several Louisville tile showrooms later in 2024 talking about those tile and surface trends and how to install them. So there will be more on that to come. Okay.
Michelle, anything that you want to, I'm super excited to, see you at the show. And I know that you had do you have the Pulse seminars? You had a talk on just a, expo floor stage last year. You doing any of the expo talks or no?
We are. So we are nearly sold out at the show wall to wall. So the show is just really stacking up to be incredible. For 2024, 600 plus brands. We will have the three theme stages. So a surfaces, stone expo, tile expo stage. All of that content's included with your exhibits pass. So make sure you use Kyle's name when you register. And then we've got a whole host of favorite finds tours. They're led by industry icons like Jennifer and a host of others, all very themed. There's even a stone and wine pairing tour. These are very limited, yes, very limited capacity. So I suggest registering as soon as you can before those sell out. And we have a host of new pole seminars, tons of activities, the installation competition. We have our final 8 who we've been crisscrossing the country. Incredible talent I saw.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So that will be live and on the floor this year. So yeah, we're excited. We are busy in our office, hustling and bustling to put together the next greatest, wonderful family reunion for the floor covering stone and tile. And I have to say, Kyle, thank you for the nobody puts baby in the corner Patrick Swayze reference. I accept that.
Okay, good to know. You're right. You gotta know your audience and who you're working with here. I'm just young enough to still understand that. So let's see. Baseball cards. We're gonna have awesome baseball cards for the installers again.
The limited edition trading cards will continue. Yes.
Okay.
We only make a certain number of them. You get them and that's it.
So you got to go check out the installation competition, go get your trading cards and then have the installers sign them. It's tons of fun. Let's see. Are we going to do first timers meeting again? Okay.
We're going to do first timers. And for anybody who feels, who loves health and fitness, which, Kyle, I think I've seen you do quite a bit of health and fitness lately. We are going to do a sunrise wellness beach walk around the beach outside. You can do a mile, 2 mile, 3 miles. You can register for that inside registration. And then that's the morning of day 1 before everybody's started walking onto the show floor. So then the next day, after you've been out and you're exhausted, we will have sunrise yoga. And super fun, you will find it on the show floor, but we are doing a puppy love lounge where you can come and cuddle puppies that are up for adoption. And and we'll be giving a big donation back to pet rescues in the Las Vegas area. So some fun new things for people to connect. You know, we're all, again, making points to connect the disconnected and really get people in with similar likes, whether it's the women's group. We're going to do the women's leadership conference the day before the event, or whether you're interested in wellness. If you're interested in education, those are places that you can come together, meet like-minded people, create some relationships and network. So we're looking forward to everybody at the show.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time. It always is. Again, there's so many opportunities to get out and network. And then not only before the show starts with, I think the pole seminars generally start before the doors open. And then they go throughout the day. There's the expo stage talks for you to be able to learn and meet people at. There's all the show to wander around and just see the new products going on, whether it's tools or actual flooring products, accessories. You have all of the marketing companies that show up. If you need something in this industry and you can't find it, I would be surprised. That is what I will say. It's the show to be at for the year if you want to be able to find absolutely anything of what's going to be taking place over the next year. And then you get it followed up by who knows what's going to happen at night, but you just wander around the hotel long enough and you're going to bump into somebody that does flooring and learn something new. So just the relationships you get to build through being at the event are amazing. I love the partnership that the two of you have built and are continuing to be able to expose people to the industry in a positive light and bring awareness to the brands and make them get the exposure that we need to, really help this industry stand out and be recognized as a trade and not considered just something that happens. It's amazing it's always amazing to me how little importance people put on flooring, and yet it's probably the most used item in your house, but because it's one of the last things installed, the budget's always gone and there has to be compromises made. And we need to be like the first consideration. And maybe you should cheap out on your paint and cabinets and fixtures. And let's get the floor being the focus. That's my opinion.
Build it from the ground up.
There you go. All right. I think that's going to do it, unless either one of you have something that we missed and we need to hit on about, this topic, or any last minute plugs.
Yes, build those relationships. That's how you leverage your brand. That's how you make a brand. Build those relationships.
All right. And where can people find you, Jennifer?
You can follow me on Instagram at Jennifer Farrell Designs. You can check me out on my website, jenniferfarrelldesigns.com, and you can find me in person at the International Surface event.
Perfect. And Michelle, you are intlsurfaceevent.com, but anything else we need to plug for you? Anywhere that people want to reach out to you?
Yeah, so I would welcome any questions after this. So if anybody wants to contact me personally, my email is Michelle at Michelle.Swayze at Informa.com, or you can go through our info line. I check all of that info at intlsurfaceevent.com. And I welcome everybody to register for the event and come and join us and use what I lovingly for the last 10 years have called our annual family reunion in Las Vegas, where we all come together and see our industry friends and spend some time together seeing beautiful products. So I welcome everybody to make their plans now and come join us.
Definitely. Look, you got to put it on the calendar. I already know. And we're going to get to that in just 1 minute. So that's going to do it for us this week, folks. Make sure you visit flooracademypod.com. Go ahead and check out our files section. Tons of great tools over there to help you grow your business, whether you're trying to figure out your day rate or how much you should be paying an employee and how much income they need to generate you, or if you need to keep track of your tools, or you want to job cost and figure out if a project was actually profitable for you. We got all kinds of fun stuff in that files section. You can help support the show by visiting patreon.com/Floor Academy. Even $5 a month goes a long way in helping me to continue to produce the content here. You can go over on the website. We do have the shop, so you can pick up a shirt, a hoodie. That profit is not a dirty word. Hoodie is super amazing, if I do say so myself. And, we got surfaces coming up. Someone's got to buy a fanny pack and sport that around the show, because how else are you going to carry all the cool swag you get? So, go get that Floor Academy fanny pack and wear that around the show, and you'll be the hippest person around, at least in my opinion. A couple of quick words from our partners here. Hey, listeners, it's nearing show season again, and I want to remind you that the International Surface event is returning to Las Vegas January 24th through 26th. So mark your calendars now, because you're not going if you don't. I know how you work as a contractor or retailer. You're going to take that job. You're going to go ahead and take something that goes over it. But you're going to tell me for the 4 months leading up to the show that, yeah, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. And then you're going to take something and you're not going to do it. So book your tickets now and commit to going, because you're going to be able to 10x that investment at a minimum, and it's going to be totally worth it. Floor Academy podcast listeners will have the opportunity to register for free using the code Kyle, Kyle, which will get you that free exhibition pass. The money you save on the exhibition pass, you're going to be able to go on the Pulse Seminars page that comes up as you're registering, and you're going to buy a ticket to my talk, and then you're going to buy a ticket to like Jennifer's talk. And so the money you save, you're going to spend anyways, but you're going to get amazing education out of it to have even more value. Whether you're an installer, retailer, distributor, or serve in another capacity within our industry, attending TICE is a solid resource to expand your knowledge and networking base. You can also learn about the newest and industry-leading products coming to the market. Stay up to date with the International Surface Event page on Facebook, or visit intlsurfaceevent.com. You know the grind, the dust, the rain, the cold. We do too. We're IQ Power Tools, born from the sweat and grit of two Masons who knew there had to be a better way. We're not just making tools, we're elevating the whole damn game. From our hands to yours, our story is your story. So let's cut the dust, not the ambition. Can't wait to meet you where it all happens, on the job site. For more information on IQ Power Tools and their products, check out the link in the show notes. All right, everybody, we will catch you next week with more stuff to help you change your business, gain more free time, and hopefully be more profitable.